1947. Das von der Kolonialherrschaft befreite Indien. Ein Land mit ungewisser Zukunft, nichts als Himmel und Erde, Trockenheit und ausgeblutete Felder. Hoffnungsträgerin soll eine neue geplante Stadt sein. Ein Symbol für die Freiheit, frei von den Traditionen der Vergangenheit und Ausdruck des Glaubens an die Zukunft. Dies war die Absicht des ersten Premierministers Jawaharlal Nehru. Entstanden ist Chandigarh, eine der wenigen modernen Planstädte des 20. Jahrhunderts. Entworfen vom französisch-schweizerischen Architekten Le Corbusier. Chandigarh polarisiert und fasziniert. Wir entdecken die Stadt in einer Zeit, in der die Welt im Umbruch steht und nach neuen Ideen sucht. Wir sind beeindruckt von der enormen Gestaltungskraft, die bis heute sichtbar und prägend ist. Architektur kann das Zusammenleben ermöglichen oder verhindern. Aus der Fremde blicken wir zurück nach Europa und fragen uns, wie wir als Menschen künftig leben wollen. Uns interessiert Chandigarh als Labor für ein neues Zusammenleben. Was können wir heute von Chandigarh lernen? Chandigarh steht für die Utopie einer humanen Stadt, in der die Menschen ein harmonisches Leben finden, im Einklang mit der Natur. Was ist einem Menschenleben von dieser Utopie geblieben? Wir treffen Kulturschaffende, die in der geplanten Stadt leben. Sie schätzen und mit ihr hadern.
I belong to a very small city called Patiala, which is about 80 kilometers from here. I came here to study theater. I liked the city, I liked the openness, lots of freedom to move around. In those days, people used to criticize Chandigarh, the city of bureaucrats, city of stones, concrete, because Corbusier had created all that. And there are no trees, very few trees, and if they were very little trees. We used to wonder what kind of city it is. But the good thing which really impressed me was the freedom of space. And the freedom of space which leads you to lots of other freedoms. And we chose Chandigarh because sort of a very open city, freer city. People could walk with your wife or girlfriend hand in hand. In other parts of the Punjab or in North India, you can't. This freedom which artists do need was very handy here. I did lots of films here also, did lots of shootings, lots of theater. The community sport has been tremendous. We've been thriving on that sport. That's what Chandigarh offers you.
I had heard about Chandigarh. My father used to come here, but I did not know there was an architecture college over here. One day I just came upon this form. You have to fill a form and you have to give an exam for some getting into a college. And there it read Chandigarh College of Architecture. One of my friends had deliberately left the form because he did not want to fill it. So I said, can I borrow it? He said, yes, you take it. Almost by chance that I filled the form, got through, and the rest is history. If these walls could talk, they would tell us so much. Because most of the decisions would have been taken over here, because this was Corbusier's room. If we could have a time machine, I would just like to go back to 1950, 51, 52 and see the buzz in this building. Imagine the whole city was raised from this one building and they were all working over here. When I came to Chandigarh, I think within the first 2 or 3 months, it became so dear to me, and somehow it became clear in my mind that maybe this is the place I will live for the rest of my life. Chandigarh to me means time. Delhi offers more opportunities, but if I'm always rushing from one place to the other through traffic, through chaos, what is the point then? The priceless thing of time and quality of life you get over here. That is what made us choose to stay in Chandigarh.
When we were growing up, the parking lots were huge. There used to be 3 cars, 2 cars in the whole parking lot, and we would joke, we said, Corbusier, this guy obviously had no idea how to design a city. How do you design a parking lot that's so big that has only 2 cars? And today you go, and in the same parking lot, there are a few hundred cars, and there is no place to park. And you again look back and say, you know what? Corbusier had no idea how to design a city. How could he design such small car parks for the same city? So you need to look at how or why it was designed and how and why you are wanting to judge it today. My childhood in Chandigarh, I had an absolutely amazing time. It had to do with it being a small city that was still growing. We could do things which a city allows while still having the charm, it having a lot of open areas to play with. Trees, gardens, parks, playgrounds.
Match it so that this finishes here. Then there is a gap.
I was born here. I have lovely, lovely memories here. My parents spent a lot of their time here. They passed away here. So for me, this space is special, in some ways sacred. So I feel really, really fortunate that it happened here in Chandigarh.
People in here, including myself, we are in a way somehow ashamed of showing our true self, coming from a small town in a rural area of Punjab to a big elitist kind of a city. The city had is like a big monolith which is imposing, neat, clean, wide roads, everything planned. So for us, it was a big shock. We felt like, out of place.
I didn't even want to speak my mother tongue, Punjabi. So I thought they will think, oh, he is a very ordinary person, So we didn't want to look ordinary, so we probably would speak Hindi. So we thought Hindi is maybe a little more elitist than Punjabi, and gradually started learning English. We were not being what we actually were. We were trying to be someone else, which we were not, imposing, something on our personality. So this is what the city made you feel. I like this picture. Within the crowd, within so many people, amongst so many people, you felt alone. Like the picture behind you. So this is the influence of the city. How individuals can feel alienated, even in a country like India, which is so populated. This is what it did to me, the city, when I came in here.
Jawaharlal Nehru schrieb zur Eröffnung im Jahr 1959:
Chandigarh is a great experiment in India. I don't like every building in Chandigarh. I like some of them very much. I like the general conception of the township very much. But above all, I like the creative approach of thinking in new terms, of light and air and ground and water, and human beings. It does not matter if you like it or not. It is the biggest project of this kind in India, because it makes you think.
Jawaharlal Nehru kämpfte gemeinsam mit Mahatma Gandhi für die Unabhängigkeit Indiens von Großbritannien und gilt als politischer Kopf der neuen Demokratie.
There was a group of people in which the world was undergoing a major change. Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of the country, was in jail for 17 years, although he belonged to a very, very affluent family. Mahatma Gandhi, he was a practicing lawyer in South Africa. He left everything and he did not take any political position. So those were the times in which people were fighting to get freedom. Utopian idea was fitting into those kind of times because they were idealistic. They wanted to sacrifice for others. After that, everything is becoming materialistic. Corbusier was a product of that idealistic time. That's why he's so significant, important. within that scope of history.
Aus heutiger Sicht erstaunt, dass die indische Regierung nach so kurzer Zeit der Unabhängigkeit bereits wieder Unterstützung aus dem Westen suchte. Bereits 1950 erteilte sie Le Corbusier den Auftrag, die Planung der neuen Regierungshauptstadt für 500.000 Menschen zu leiten. Le Corbusier war bekannt für seine radikalen Ideen. Er fand, die Altstädte Europas entsprechen nicht mehr den Anforderungen des modernen Menschen. Man solle sie abreißen und von Grund auf neu planen. Bauen bedeutete für ihn, sich einer besseren, gerechteren und harmonischeren Welt anzunähern. Noch bevor Le Corbusier die Arbeit aufnahm, war bereits entschieden, die neue Stadt am Fuße des Himalayas soll eine Gartenstadt werden. Als erstes ließ er einen See anlegen. Der Mensch vereint mit der Natur. Das entsprach dem Zeitgeist. Le Corbusier schrieb an seine Frau Yvonne:
Ich habe mich noch nie so ruhig und zurückgezogen gefühlt, so vereinnahmt von der Poesie natürlicher Dinge. Wir sind auf dem Gelände unserer Stadt, unter einem herrlichen Himmel, mitten in einer zeitlosen Landschaft. Alles ist ruhig, langsam, harmonisch und liebenswürdig. Und ich sage dir, ich werde hier zwischen diesen Menschen endlich das Werk meines Lebens vollbringen.
Corbusier feel that man will ultimately come back to nature. And we were already there. We were already, in tune with nature. Our lives were like that. They were much simpler, of course, at that time, not so rushed. We made from the soil our houses. A lot of greenery, a lot of open spaces in the houses. Majorly outdoor way of living. Especially the Sukhna Lake. I sometimes used to feel that as if I've been here before. I always used to get this feeling of deja vu, as if I know this place. I go there almost every day. That is one miracle, because you are just 5 minutes away from the city and you are just in the lap of nature. That's my favorite spot in Chandigarh.
City Beautiful nennen die Einheimischen ihre Stadt, wohl auch wegen der vielen Parks. Keine andere indische Großstadt hat so viel Grün. Auf über einem Drittel der Fläche Chandigarhs stehen Bäume. Die Stadt soll die Entwicklung von Körper und Geist unterstützen.
The whole of Chandigarh is on the scale of a pedestrian actually. 45 minutes walking from here to here. 15 minutes walking from here to here. It's a scale we don't think of. We never try to measure how much time will it take from one place to the other while we are designing things. And that's how Chandigarh was made, as a pedestrian city.
Auf einer unserer unzähligen Streifzügen durch die Stadt begegnen wir Narinder Singh, der täglich zu Fuß unterwegs ist.
Yeah, now you come, okay?
Er selbst nennt sich Narinder Singh International. Seine Passion ist es, Fremden das alltägliche Leben zu zeigen. Er nimmt auch uns mit an seine Lieblingsorte.
Only try. एक कोई बोलो बोल.
Beim Bau der Stadt wurden Tausende von Bäumen gepflanzt und um bereits vorhandene wurde herumgebaut. Ein Gesetz von 1952 schützt die Bäume. Jeder Baum ist mit einer Nummer versehen. Das Fällen ist strikt verboten.
Landscape was a very live part of the planning of Chandigarh, starting from the Leisure Valley. The Leisure Valley was just gashing across the whole of Chandigarh, from the north to the south. Corbusier had a proper proposal that people could just walk down through the Leisure Valley. He would have called them the lungs of the city. Every major V4 road would have a color coding. On one avenue you would have maybe pink flowers growing, on the other you would have a yellow flower, somewhere purple. That's again a very unique way to create an identity for an area, to respect nature, to incorporate nature. It was the human being which was kept at the center of the planning of everything that was planned to human scale. And the moment we start applying that, everything changes drastically.
One thinking that Corbusier had in mind, that people should not become machines. After work, you come back, you should have time with their parks, their trees, there are lots of community spaces. There are lots of performance spaces that he created. This is our fundamental right to express ourselves through cultural performances. And the purpose of theatre is to provoke people. We are provocateurs. We sometimes hit them below the belt to get provoked, to talk, to ask, to demand.
बिल्कुल हाँ नहीं यार बाग में न चहके चिड़िया नदियां सराते हैं छीन लिया है जिन्होंने सूरज को और छुपा दिया है धुएं की पहाड़ी के पीछे ये राष्ट्र उनका है जिनके हाथ में है संपन्नता हमारे देश का 70% पानी प्रदूषित हो चला है तो कैसे नाश होगा सर्वनाश हम बचेंगे ना आने वाली पीढ़ियां खुली हवा की तलाश में खुली हवा की तलाश में
The kind of radical work, the kind of anti-government work I could do in Chandigarh, I couldn't have done in Patiala or any other city. Because you see, the architecture helps people to be more, have a wider mind, wider vision, better vision. And all this is the blessing of Corbusier's Chandigarh. It's a very cosmopolitan city, you know. Lots of people get assimilated here. People from south, people from east, people from northeast, they are all here. And nobody raises an eyebrow that who you are, why you are here. A whole lot of people, they are not only Punjabis, not only Haryanvis, not only Hindus, not only Sikhs, not only Muslims. A whole lot of them are here.
Einst kamen alle als Neuankömmlinge nach Chandigarh. Oft getrennt von ihrer Großfamilie, schauten sie einer Zukunft entgegen, die neuartig, frei und vielversprechend aussah. Hinter sich hatten sie eine konfliktreiche Zeit. Es war das Ende der britischen Kolonialherrschaft 1947. Kampfexzesse nagten am Land. Ein großer Bürgerkrieg drohte auszubrechen. Der indische Subkontinent teilte sich in die unabhängigen Staaten Indien und Pakistan. Zur Folge hatte dies die größte Umsiedlungswelle in der Geschichte der Menschheit. "15 Millionen Menschen verloren ihr Zuhause, über 1 Million ihr Leben. Bis heute sind die Wunden der Teilung in vielen Bereichen spürbar. Die Hauptstadt des Bundesstaates Punjab, Lahore, stand nach der Trennung auf pakistanischem Boden. Eine neue Hauptstadt musste gebaut werden. Es sollte eine moderne Stadt werden, eine Verwaltungsstadt und eine Stadt für die Menschen.
Ich bin mir der enormen Verantwortung bewusst, die ich mir sowohl in technischer als auch in architektonischer Hinsicht aufgeladen habe. Dieses Projekt wird gleichermaßen von ästhetischen wie ethischen Verantwortlichkeiten beherrscht.
Corbusier's interpretation of a modern city was not an industrial city. He felt the same, that the tough times are over now and man has to evolve now into a modern version of what we were. We need theatres, university, we need museums. So we need high quality education over here, we need a modern way of living for the students because that's the next generation you're growing. Isn't it amazing that, like a 60-year-old city has a lot more culturally to offer than most even 100 to 100-year-old cities in India don't have. Artists, critics, authors, these are the kind of people we want to come and settle in Chandigarh, otherwise where's the soul? Because these are the people who push for things, who preserve things.
The government was making special effort to make this city alive. First Chief Commissioner of Chandigarh, Dr. M. Randhawa, was very instrumental. He gave land to artists, helped them. He would buy their artwork so that they could pay the installments. When we were there 30, 40 years ago, there was a whole lot of intellectuals who were free of all those shackles of norms. They would drink, they would sing, they would sit, they would not worry about money. They were concerned about ideas, about equality of people, about freedom of expression.
प्यार तेरे विच सुन दे जट्टा मैं हो गई दीवानी अगे जख्म बथेरे दिल ते होर ना मारी कानी मैनू जख्म बछोड़ा तेरा मरमाना भी दे I studied in a college which was built by Corbusier. I'd spent 6 years of my life in the same building. It has a very strong impact on your mind. It is very brutal because other cities in India, they are very organic. Small houses, interconnected lines, there's no structure as such. It's very vague and it's like ever growing. And when you see Chandigarh, it's tuck, 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 tuck. Everything is connected at 90 degrees. When you're inside a structure, you feel that space. Being an artist, whatever has been given to me, it's been given by the city.
Chandigarh has spoilt me. Chandigarh has given me a taste of what an urban space can be and what it can provide. Grew up in a Corbusier home, like government homes were Corbusier homes. My father was in the government. There were these dark, cool places, and there were these open spaces and all kinds of screens. Screens are a very important Indian element because it's hot. Corbusier did like little things of, placing bricks in such a fashion and creating openings so the wind would come in, but you would not feel the sun. I have become an urban activist because I'm from Chandigarh. I live in Delhi and I do urban activism there because I feel Indian cities generally, they don't respect the human body. They don't place the human body at the center. Chandigarh is built around the human body, the needs of a human body, which is comfort, safety, leisure, pleasure, space.
The city itself, its architecture, has a quiet and said impact on the psyche of the people at a subconscious level. All these designs, patterns, the color, the volumes, they are having an impact on their thinking, on their behavior. You will find a Chandigarh person would be different from a Delhi person. The way they talk, the way they deal with other people, how they respond to a stranger, all these things are reflected in the behavior of people who have lived for a long time in Chandigarh.
Wir treffen Narinder Singh International immer wieder. Zufällig.
This is the oldest Hindu temple.
Er erzählt uns, wie er als Kind aus Lahore flüchten musste und seit der Stadtgründung hier lebt. Le Corbusiers Werk versteht er als Aufforderung, sein Wissen an andere Menschen weiterzugeben. Wie über die Hälfte aller Bewohnerinnen von Chandigarh arbeitete auch Narinder sein Leben lang als Beamter. Sein ehemaliger Arbeitsort, das Verwaltungsgebäude, steht im Norden der Stadt, im Regierungsviertel. Hier entwarf Le Corbusier den Capitol-Komplex, sein wichtigstes Werk in Chandigarh, und setzte seine Ideen von Freiheit und Demokratie um. Anstelle von Marmor wählte er Beton und prägte 3 skulpturale Gebäude. Das Parlamentsgebäude, ein hohes Gericht und ein langgezogener Komplex für die Verwaltung. Er verzichtete auf die üblich monumentale Treppe, sondern plante große Plätze, die zum Flanieren einladen. Alles ist gestaltet. Ein Zusammenspiel von Formen und Farben, angereichert mit Skulpturen und Symbolen. Mit dem Denkmal der offenen Hand, eine Geste des Grußes und Zeichen des Friedens, gestaltete er das Wahrzeichen der Stadt. Mit einem darunterliegenden Versammlungsort.
I really appreciate the way he uses light. He uses light as if it's been sent by God in the shape of music or poetry. That rhythm of light does something to human. Suddenly you find some kind of a shape, and that shape is absolutely abstract. Within that abstraction, there are contours which have certain impact somewhere on the brain. It constantly keeps impacting your thinking patterns. In Chandigarh, you cannot escape from Corbusier. Corbusier is sitting on your head like anything. Constantly is there. Every day you are reminded of Corbusier, 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 Corbusier.
Im Capitol-Komplex wirkte Le Corbusier als Architekt, Bildhauer und Maler. Der indischen Tierwelt fügte er den Kreislauf der Sonne und des Mondes hinzu.
The thing about Corbusier is not just talking about man and nature, but there's a bigger term that he uses, the man-cosmos relationship.
Er spielte mit der Macht der Sonne und hat ihre einfallenden Strahlen mit schattenspendenden Elementen an der Fassade gebrochen und den Regen zur Kühlung in Wasserbecken aufgefangen.
This structure is actually a demonstration of how you can control the sun on any side.
Die Materialien der Stadtplanung sind Himmel, Raum, Bäume, Stahl und Zement. In dieser Reihenfolge und in dieser Hierarchie.
Der Capitol-Komplex ist seit 2016 UNESCO-Weltkulturerbe. In der Schweiz wird Le Corbusier verehrt als einer der bedeutendsten Gestalter des 20. Jahrhunderts. Auch heute noch löst er mit seinen radikalen Ideen Kontroversen aus. Die Schweiz ehrte ihn 1997 auf einer Banknote. Wir zeigen den Geldschein den Beamten im Parlamentsgebäude von Chandigarh. Das Staunen ist groß.
This is Gandhi Bhavan.
लिखा सर वो नए नोट का तो लिखा है कि उसमें कौन कौन से फीचर डाल रहे हैं वो हाई कोर्ट का ये वाला जो आप कह रहे हो ये सर ये बिल्डिंग सीधी है ये यहीं से है ना ये मेन है वो
Seit einem Selbstmordattentat 1995 auf den Ministerpräsidenten von Punjab hat die Bevölkerung keinen Zugang mehr zum Capitol Complex. Nur geführte Rundgänge mit Spezialbewilligungen sind noch möglich.
You can't deprive public to visit monument. How can you stop it? What bloody face you have, what bloody power you have to stop it? Whatever he created for the public use is being appropriated by the government. They want to have everything under their control.
Public spaces have a lot of importance, but over the years we've kind of removed that importance. But that importance has also been removed because the public spaces are no longer accessible. How many people in Chandigarh actually know what the Capitol complex is or where it is? You would have people who lived their whole life in Chandigarh and would not have seen the Secretariat or the Assembly building. What a pity, what a shame. In the College of Architecture, they celebrate Corbusier's birth anniversary.
They could go and pick up passengers where they want. And we can drag it and it will take years and years to melt.
They celebrate his death anniversary. I'm very sure they celebrate his wedding anniversary also. What I'm trying to say is that they hold him in absolute reverence. But if you're doing that, then you cannot question the man.
Have you seen a little recyclable sign around plastic?
Chandigarh is getting to be a museum when it should be a living city. And a living city has to grow, it has to evolve, it has to learn from the past and then look at the future. But somehow we are very happy with getting the UNESCO World Heritage tag, and we'd rather preserve everything the way it was rather than allowing it to grow with the times.
Chandigarh wirkt wie ein Gesamtkunstwerk. Alles ist gestaltet. Die anfängliche Stadtplanung ist bis heute erhalten und unangetastet geblieben. Es gibt kein verdichtetes Bauen. Häuser, Bäume und Straßen sind geschützt. Das hat zu tun mit den Baugesetzen und dem Edikt, das Le Corbusier hinterlassen hat.
Das Ziel des Edikts von Chandigarh ist es, die gegenwärtigen und zukünftigen Bürger von Chandigarh über die grundlegenden Konzepte der Planung der Stadt zu informieren, damit sie zu ihren Hütern werden, um sie vor den Launen Einzelner zu bewahren.
They put in some architectural controls that, okay, you have to have a height like this, you have to have a facade like that. I would not call it a restriction that we have, but a guideline, which is why we've been able to save much of the character of the city, even today.
Die Ehrlichkeit der Baustoffe Beton, Ziegel und Stein ist bei allen gebauten oder neu erstellten Bauwerken einzuhalten.
The edict was important as a starting point because you needed a common ideology for everybody to believe in. And that edict is a interesting transformation of how to take an idea and to make it into reality. But most people don't even know about the edict. And perhaps it can be modified today with people's involvement. Where people are saying, you know what, if this is part of my city and I am part of this city, then I have a right to question that also and to change it if necessary.
Extreme heat, extreme cold, very heavy monsoons. The concrete is falling apart. It's a city which is aging really fast. It was not meant to be permanent as such, that it will last for hundreds of years. It's almost like a transition between a very old way of living and a modern way of living, and of course there'll be another step. The pioneers who advocate that change, I really doubt if they would have wanted that we stick to what they have done and don't take it further at all. Within the codes that we have, there is a scope for immense change. So we need to evolve. It can be easily done if you just know what are the core values you are trying to protect, and after that you can do the changes you want. We have to first challenge the theory that why do we want to preserve it. There are so many misconceptions. So my job over here is just to make people understand the essence of what it was, what it meant, the kind of conditions in which it was made. We didn't even have good roads that time. We had no money, we had no resources. It was being done by using donkeys and like people holding material on their heads.
When my father came here in 1952 with two of his friends and bought this plot of land, all the other lawyers were saying, look at the three fools. They've gone and invested money in the jungle. So we started this house on 26th of January 55. And while we were constructing this house, this was a very heavily snake-infested area. There were so many snakes. On an average day, the workers used to find 12 to 14 snakes a day. The first building out of the capital complex was the High Court. So 35 lawyers came down from Simla to Chandigarh, including my parents and us.
The only option I had was use what you have, where you are, and do the best that you can. I think Chandigarh is the best example of that. It was actually a team effort, and all the right people came together at the right time. I think it is like one of those very rare cases when everyone is going on their separate paths and their lives cross together at one point and they all come together and they all find their purpose together. That itself is a symbol of utopia.
Ein großer und erstaunlicher Akt der Zusammenarbeit. dem eine gemeinsame Vision, ein gemeinsames Architekturverständnis zugrunde lag. Mit im Team war nicht nur Pierre Jeanneret, der Cousin von Le Corbusier, sondern auch das englische Architektenpaar Jane Drew und Maxwell Fry, welche Erfahrungen vom Bauen in subtropischem Klima aus Afrika mitbrachten. Ebenso arbeiteten viele indische Architekten, Zeichner und Handwerker mit.
They are the makers of Chandigarh. Myself.
Yourself?
Yeah, in the first.
Yeah.
Can you recognize? So this is Randhawa, the first Chief Commissioner of Chandigarh. Then P.N. Thapar and P.L. Verma. These are the two fellows who went to France to persuade Corbusier to come and plan Chandigarh. And then Chief Engineer and Chief Architect at that time, Mr. M.N. Sharma. I was 31 years age when I was working with Corbusier. They were intellectuals of a very high order. Their thinking for humanity was very supreme. Even architects and planners don't think on that sort of ideas. And when Corbusier got the opportunity to design this place, he requested his cousin. Corbusier has intuited the dream of how the thing should be. But Jeanneret was one rock-like support with him to implement it, to bring it into reality. He knew that he cannot do without him because he used to come only twice a year. And Jeanneret stayed here around the year. He looked after his buildings, like the university, and all housing, all infrastructure is designed by Perry Jeanneret.
Corbusier hardly spent any time in India. He would come for a couple of months, a year. I doubt that he had a complete, proper understanding of the context of the culture around which he was designing. Most of the architects or part of the capital project team were people who had been trained in that Western way of thinking. There was a mix of Indian culture and Indian identity that they wanted to show, but it was within a paradigm which was essentially Western.
Der Mensch steht im Zentrum. Dieser Gedanke durchzieht die gesamte Planung. Sogar der Stadtplan wurde nach dem Abbild des Menschen aufgebaut. Der Capitol-Komplex steht für den Kopf, das Stadtzentrum für das Herz, die Universität und das Industrieviertel für die Arme, die Gärten für die Lungen und die Straßen symbolisieren den Blutkreislauf. Kritiker gliedern den Stadtplan einfach in 56 Sektoren. Rechtwinklig, gleichförmig und durchstrukturiert.
The sector as a planning module works very well. The original idea was that each sector would be a self-contained unit. There was residential, there was a school, there was a religious place, there was a market, there was a post office, there is a green belt, there is a hierarchy of roads.
Zu Fuß, mit dem Rad oder im Auto. Jeder erhält seinen Weg, seine Bahn, seine Spur. Le Corbusier definierte ein 7-stufiges Straßensystem. Verkehrslärm, Stau, Luftverschmutzung plagen heute viele Städte. In Chandigarh rollt der Verkehr immer noch. Dank der vorausschauenden Planung. Er rollt den Hauptstraßen entlang. In den Wohnvierteln ist es still. Die Straßen verlieren sich oft in Sackgassen.
There are a lot of social things that are happening as a result of that sector. Your sense of belonging, your sense of ownership to that area, to that locality is because of that sector.
In Chandigarh sollte nur 1/10 des Einkommens für das Wohnen ausgegeben werden. Um eine soziale Durchmischung zu erzielen, hat das Planungsteam jeden Sektor in kleinere und größere Parzellen unterteilt und 14 verschiedene Haustypen entworfen, größere und kleinere. Auch heute noch verwaltet die Stadt rund 60% der Liegenschaften und teilt sie den Angestellten gemäß ihrer Einkommensklasse zu.
There was a conscious effort to remove a lot of barriers. Everything was supposed to be within everybody's reach. In conception, it was utopian. The fact that you were designing for all straight off society. So it was also in ways a social experiment, which was right and righteous in its attempt. What has turned out, I'm not so sure is fully utopian. You have certain markets that are turning out to be specialized markets now. Sector 27, 28 would be a hardware market or a motor repair market. But that is good because I feel in a way that's the city evolving. There is a need for something like that, and that is why it is happening. I think that's the most amazing part of an Indian city, where people and the space would respond to a need.
Chandigarh hat heute das höchste Durchschnittseinkommen pro Kopf in Indien und wächst schnell. Das Stadtgebiet ist begrenzt. Eine Verdichtung durch das Edikt unvorstellbar. Das lässt die Immobilienpreise in die Höhe schnellen. Menschen mit kleinem Einkommen siedeln an die Stadtränder. Anders als einst geplant sind Slums entstanden. Wie in ganz Indien ist die Schere zwischen Arm und Reich groß.
I'm running this place from the last 45 years. When I came to Chandigarh in the 70s, the houses were very cheap, the shops were very cheap. But now, things are out of reach. A common man can't buy a house. It's very expensive.
It is not easy for middle person to live here, as the property rates are very much highest. How to earn, how to survive? It is only the main point to earn your bread, to live. The rates of electricity are going high. That's why life is not easy. But the system of the Chandigarh is too much better than other cities. Well-planned city, well-managed city. That's why we are living here.
The sector today, it's also used as a class-defining thing. You meet somebody in the evening and say, which sector do you live in? And that will kind of define who you are.
If you have address of sector 2, which means you are filthily rich. Sector 9 is again very rich. 2, 3, 4, 5, they are rich sectors. And if somebody says you are in sector 22, which means you are lower middle class. We are having better time than the rich guys. We don't have great lawns in our houses. We have great parks. In our house, within 3 minutes walk, you can access to 7 parks. And those guys, they can never go to parks. Their children don't go to parks. They are within their own.
It's not only the people who are living in the north or that they have larger houses. Roads are far wider. They get cleaner, more regular water supply. They get better, uninterrupted electricity. And they don't want that status to change.
That stigma, that shame of hierarchy we still carry within our blood, which I'm very ashamed of. I try to come out of it, but since we have grown up like that, it will take centuries to go. The centuries of fair administration, equal treatment for everybody, which is not there. It is there in the law. Constitution is very well crafted and drafted, but implementation is very poor because those people who are governing, most of them are belonging to the higher class. So they do not think much of the ordinary people.
We have these really huge houses with just 2 people staying in them. The kids have gone abroad. And there's such a big, huge lawn. They are paying almost 20,000 rupees to the gardener. The rates have gone really sky high. This only allows a certain level of people to come and stay in a city, which is not good for the city. If the entire city is made up of, sorry to use the word, rich, pampered people, they will not really do much. Believe me, a very robust middle class is needed for any city to thrive. A lot of problems crop up. Like it's not just about the rich and the poor. A lot of problems crop up because of that.
When Chandigarh was designed, Corbusier had said that we will have green barriers around the city. So there was meant to be, 20 kilometers of area that you cannot build on. Guess who was the first to break the rule? The government itself.
Landflucht, Verstädterung, Bevölkerungswachstum. Die Probleme Chandigarhs sind dieselben wie in anderen großen Städten. Weil die Lebensqualität hier hoch ist, zieht es noch mehr Menschen an. Angrenzend an die Planstadt sind 2 weitere Städte entstanden, Mohali und Panchkula. Fanden in den letzten Jahren Hunderttausende von Menschen hier ein neues Zuhause?
India is adding 1 Australia every year. 17 to 20 million people a year to the population. We are having millions moving from the rural areas to cities, and that pressure on property and land is increasing. Chandigarh has been planned for 500,000 people. So the facilities Corbusier had in mind was for 500,000 people. We've crossed 1 million already. The problems are the direct result of Chandigarh's fantastic success. We can, at one hand, say, well done, Corbusier. And on the other said, you've done too well. But why change Chandigarh?
The monster of one model of development, which is Western, that is affecting almost every aspect of life. Your dream is have skyscrapers, which is a folly of 70s in the West, which does not care about smaller things in life. It cares about the bigger things, bigger people, money.
The hunger for materialism has not been satiated as yet, because the history of poverty is not that far. And when we see people around us, there are so many poor people, and rather than empathizing with those and trying to create egalitarian world or equal world, we feel happy when we acquire more. But one day we will realize that the real happiness comes from the quality of life. From that angle, the utopian idea has to be kept alive.
Das Leben hält nie inne. Wir arbeiten nach unserem Gewissen. Nichts ist übertragbar, außer die Gedanken, die Krone unserer Arbeit.
Whoever came brought in one's own culture, but got assimilated into the Chandigarh culture, which was semi-Indian, semi-European, rural, semi-urban. So it's a unique, strange mix of various cultural backgrounds. All kinds of languages, foods and clothes, histories. So all those things have merged, and it's just become a fusion. Mahinder Tokralji's subject is one, partition, the divide, Bantwara. And many of our younger friends probably are not aware what that Bantwara was. It was not only a division of the land, it was a division in many, many ways. When the British were unable to change Indians, to control their behavioral patterns, then he thought instill inferiority complex in whatever they do. So they started negating everything which was Indian, whether it was dance or music or folk art or architecture. European is best. Bring in something from Europe, that is best. All the positive, rich in content, rich in design, rich in aesthetics, rich in beauty, all those things were lost. But not everything was lost. India was such a rich country in terms of cultural heritage, values. They could not demolish everything. That's why they left India.
Human beings are far more resilient, and they will not really accept an imposition to tell them how to live or where to do what. A city, like other things, is also a living organism. I would say, if taken a foreign master and made him our own, it doesn't take away from us, it only adds to who we are. And therefore that plurality and diversity and openness is so entombed or so entangled into who we are as a people.
Jawaharlal Nehru, in fact, put the seed of modernism himself. He said, let it be a new town symbolic of the freedom of India. Let it be unfettered by the traditions of the past. Some people misunderstand it as saying that we break away from tradition altogether. No, unfettered means it's not bound by tradition. I keep holding these workshops for government school teachers. After every lecture, again the same disappointing thing. Okay, how many of you have been to the Capitol complex? Just 2 hands, 3 hands. How many of you know how Chandigarh was made? 3 hands, 4 hands. And every time after the workshop, they were, why didn't someone tell this to us before? I wish we knew how the city was made. We had no idea. And that is what, keeps pushing me to do more. Please learn from Chandigarh. It was not just a city, it was a way of living, a way of thinking. This is something which Corbusier had been working on for a long time. But the overlying theme was that an open hand is open to give and open to receive.
We need to learn to make use of the existing spaces. We have to add to those newer methodologies so that the older buildings can be utilized to instill new ideas or infuse new enthusiasm, new passion. Society which is just, which is equal, which is providing all the same facilities for all the people.
The food that we eat, the water that we drink, the air that we breathe, it's totally polluted. There are enough people who are without homes, there are enough people without jobs, there are enough people who are not eating healthy. You can bring all this together, and I'm not looking at all these as liabilities. I'm saying all these are assets. If people were given a certain right, and I'm not saying right over the land, I'm saying right to grow. Grow fruit, grow vegetables, grow things that people can consume. You need to take over the roundabouts, you need to take over the central parks, give it back to the people, let them grow healthy and let them eat healthy. So a lot more can happen in the city, but it has to go back to the people.
People should be able to get together and be in the community spaces, express themselves independently, freely, express themselves fearlessly. We are not meant to be cogs. We are not meant to be machines. We are not meant to be doing the jobs that we don't want to do. We are meant to be creative. Everybody, every human being. People will feel that they own the city when they have power. The ownership comes when you give power to the people.